Hello, my name is Kristen and I am currently an RBT in a clinic setting. I have a small amount of experience in the home setting and I have observed in the school setting. However, I much more prefer the clinic setting. When it comes to behavioral assessments, I have several experiences with direct data and a little bit of experience with indirect data. So I've done everything from QABFs to ABC data. According to Cooper et al., you should conduct an FBA when you need to determine why a behavior is happening. Jacoby et al. Says that you need to conduct an FBA when you need to identify the precise conditions that evoke and maintain a problem behavior to provide the client with a more function-based treatment. And thirdly, Joseph et al. Suggests to conduct an FBA when the problem behavior prevents the development of desirable behaviors and negatively impacts the quality of life for the individual, the family, and others that they engage with. So a problem behavior that definition that I have come up with is anything that interferes with an individual's learning or social interactions. So for example, let's say that the client engages in twirling their hair. This is something that can happen during learning along with important social interactions that won't necessarily hinder anything. However, if the behavior is something like spitting or self-injurious behavior, those both interrupt learning and social interactions, thus needing a replacement behavior. So a functional analysis consists of collecting direct and observational data along with setting up the environment to determine the function of the behavior. An FBA consists of both indirect and direct observations. So this can include anything from ABC data to QABFs, which we will look at later in this video. In my clinic, the determination of whether an FBA or an FA is conducted falls upon the BCBA. And due to the fact that we have multiple BCBAs within our clinic who have a different way of how they like to go about things, we really conduct both. So I have chosen to speak regarding an FBA conducted within my clinic. The length of this assessment really depends upon the family and the client and what they get done before we bring them into the clinic, as well as how much talking goes on within. However, they allow them 2 hours to bill for this time. So the first thing that we send them is whenever we first know that they're coming in for an eval with their kiddo, we will send them something called the Vineland, which mainly talks about skills assessment like communication and all that, but also talks about behaviors just a little bit. We also have the FAI, the BLAF, and the QABF in the eval together. I do have a couple of those for you guys to look at today. So this is the BLAF, which stands for the Behavior Language Assessment Form. So what they will do is they will just go through and answer these questions on a scale of a 1 to 5. So I'll go ahead and read that through with you. The number 1 says cooperation with adults. How easy is it to work with a child? Number 1 says always uncooperative, avoids work, engages in negative behavior. 2 will do only one brief and easy response for a powerful reinforcer. 3 is will give you 5 responses without disruptive behavior. 4 will work for 5 minutes without disruptive behavior, and 5 works well for 10 minutes at a table without disruptive behavior. And so it goes through and asks a lot of different questions. So this one was about, as I stated earlier, the cooperation with adults. This one is how they request or man. Number 3 is motor imitation. 4 is vocal play. 5 is vocal imitation. 6 is matching to sample. 7 is receptiveness. 8 is labeling, 9 is receptive by feature function class, 10 is conversational skills, 11 is letters and numbers, and 12 is social interaction. And then you can score that and determine what you need to work on based off of those results. We also have the FAI, the functional analysis interview, that we always give first. It's got a numerous amount of questions. I won't go through all of these with you due to the time's sake. But it talks about the parents' goals of what they want to get, the patient's language abilities, what's going on in the home, if there's any mental illnesses in the family, if there's any allergies, medications that the client is taking, behaviors of concern, when they happen, who they most happen with, who they're less likely to happen with. And then the last part is just obstacles and potential reinforcers that we could provide them with. The next document I would like to show you is questions about behavioral function, which is the QABF for short. So as an RBT, I've seen a lot of these. However, I did have the recent experience of first filling one of these out with a parent, and that was a lot of fun. I hope you guys get to do it. So what you'll do is you'll go on a scale of 0 to 3, 0 being it never happens, 1 being it rarely happens, 2 being sometimes, and 3 is often. And if this statement doesn't apply to the client, then you would just put an X. So number 1, we have engages in behavior to get attention. Number 2, engages in the behavior to escape work or learning situations. And then you would just go through all of the questions and once again, as I stated, rate them on a scale of 0 to 3 before coming to the second page of the document. However, there are times whenever this chart is listed at the bottom of that page, and you would total it up, and then you would get the summaries here, and obviously the higher number is the highest potential function of that behavior. The last thing that I want to talk about, I do not have a visual of today. Something that we do in my clinic is we have an RBT, such as myself, who during an eval will take the client from the parents' room where they're talking with the BCBA, and they will take them out into the clinic or onto the floor, as we say, and we will probe some skills. So like, can they respond to their name? How do they ask for things? Do they elope? How do they do with peers? Can they receptively label items? So I'll hold up a ball and a shoe and be like, show me the ball, and see how they respond. Can they follow safety commands like stop, come here, all of those sorts of things. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is what I would like to learn more about. I would like to learn more about manipulating the environment for different topographies of each function of the behavior to be able to prepare myself for the future. I've read a lot of research articles that talk about how they conduct FBAs, and it all just seems like they really have it together. So I would like to be more comfortable in that area to be like, okay, if this is the function, let's set it up like this and see if we can, determine what's going on. The main difference in the assessments conducted in my field experiences and those that I've learned about during my coursework is the flexibility. So during the assessments conducted within my field experience, we add on questions or we change the questions throughout the interview process, depending on the responses from the parent. So if the parent responds and they're like, yeah, they did great sleeping, no issues there, then we won't ask any more questions about them sleeping or taking naps or any of that. However, if the parent is like, yes, this behavior is really intense and we have a lot of issues with that, then we'll go into a lot of detail about that behavior along with other behaviors that the parents have of concern to make sure that we address everything and we get what we need to know. A few of the things that I really like that we ask in our functional analysis interviews is who is the behavior most likely to happen with and who is the behavior least likely to happen with. I feel like a lot of times this gives us an insight onto why the behavior is happening already, but just a hypothesis, not really anything solid in stone. So my questions for you to respond to are, what are the biggest challenges you have ever faced or are always cautious of when conducting an FA or an FBA, and how did you overcome it? I know a lot of us are in a lot of different settings, so FBAs and FAs look very different for us. I'm very excited to see what you guys do in your clinic setting or in your school or home to be able to conduct this, especially considering, so whereas like in the clinic setting, we can literally just be like, hey guys, just don't come in this room. We're going to be working with this kiddo and we can have the space to ourselves. However, in a school setting or in a home setting, especially if it's a group home type area, I don't feel like that you always have that situation. Along with that, do you guys have other BCBAs or other support to assist you with these FAs and FBAs, or do you just conduct them on your own? All of these are questions that I would like you guys to answer, and also if you have any tips on how to get better results from the FA or FBA, I'll be more than happy to take that into consideration. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!